Welcome to Code with Ankit, and from this video we are going to start our new course, and that is Spring Boot and Microservices. So let's see what we will study and what are the prerequisites of the course. And okay, so in this video we will see the introduction to Spring Boot as well. So see, okay, I'm going to write here a Spring Boot and Microservices course, and that will be absolutely available for free on this YouTube channel, Code with Ankit in English. Okay, so here are Spring Boot and Microservices. Now let me just write what are the prerequisites to follow or to learn this course. Okay, so the prerequisites are following. You should have a strong knowledge in core Java. Yes, object oriented, multi-threading, exception handling. This concept should be like you should have a good grip over there. Okay, so core Java. Okay, you have to learn core Java. Okay, absolutely, you should you should be good in core Java. Okay, now advanced Java. Advanced Java means basics like JDBC, servlets, how they work, like how to insert some record with the help of JDBC. Like you should have little just overview and basic knowledge of JDBC, JSP and servlets. Yes, then you should have the knowledge of a Spring framework, Hibernate framework. Again, now why Hibernate framework? Because when we will do the Spring Data JPA and the Spring ORM parts, their Hibernate framework is going to help you a lot. So a Spring Hibernate framework also. Okay, you should know the Hibernate framework. Then a Spring core. Okay, a Spring core. In the Spring framework, the whole Spring framework is too large. Okay, it has many modules, so you should have the knowledge of Spring core. Okay, a Spring MVC. Okay, if you have the basics knowledge of a Spring core, a Spring MVC, then also it will work. Okay, so a Spring Data JPA. Okay, you should have this knowledge. Okay, a Spring core, a Spring MVC, a Spring Data JPA. At least this knowledge is required to follow this Spring Boot and Microservices course. Okay, and please don't ask any nonsense questions like how many videos it will come. I even don't know. Okay, I even don't know that how many videos will come and fall into this Spring Boot and Microservices course playlist. Okay, but one thing is sure, if I am teaching you, I will give all the things that I know. I will give each and every explanation in too much of detail so that you can understand it and you can actually work on a project. Okay, so after completing this course you can go for the interviews, of course, and you can we will do some project as well in the end of the course, and between the course if we find some small tips and some mini projects, then we will do also. So a Spring core, a Spring MVC, Spring Data JPA, the prerequisites: core Java, advanced Java. Core Java, strong knowledge; advanced Java, basics knowledge; Hibernate framework, you should know. A Spring core, a Spring MVC, Spring Data JPA, little basics are required to follow this course. Let's move forward then. So this is the prerequisites of the course. Okay, now let's move to the Spring Boot discussion. Okay, so first we will try to cover all the topics of Spring Boot. We'll do hands-on coding. Okay, and I'll give this notes link in the description. Okay, so let's start now. So let's see that what is the meaning of a Spring Boot. Okay, what is the meaning of, and what is a Spring Boot? First of all, what is a Spring Boot? So Spring Boot is nothing but a project. It's a project. Are you getting my point? A Spring Boot is a project. Yes, it's a project. I will show you how. So just see, you just think that I am creating one project. Okay, suppose you are creating one project. Okay, let's say online okay, grocery selling, grocery store. You want to create one project that is online grocery store. Perfect. See, so suppose you have written here 100 lines of code. Okay, 100 lines of code you have written there, just suppose. Okay, and you created one application that is online grocery store in a Spring framework by the help of a Spring framework. Okay, let's say a Spring project. You just created project that is a Spring project. Okay, you created, just suppose, and you created again one project. Okay, you have to create another project that is let's say, let's take an example of this one is the online grocery store. You started library management, library, or let's say online books store. Okay, you want to create this project. Again, this project is also the Spring project. Okay, this one is this these two are the Spring project. Okay, now see, in the online grocery store you have written 100 lines of code, and here you have written, and here you have written, let me just minimize it first. Okay, and here you have written let's say 80 lines of code, or let's say 120 or whatever. I'm just taking an example. Okay, lines of code. So if you have written 100 lines of code and 80 lines of code, now tell me, maybe some lines of code in online grocery store and online books store will be common. Okay, like how it is common? So if you have the online grocery store, you want to connect the application to the database. If you have the online books store, you have to connect the online bookstore application to the database. Now connecting the database, okay, you have to write the code for it. To connect the database to your Java application, you have to write the code for connection. Okay, to create the connection of database. So what is happening here? You are writing the same logic for connecting the code, okay, connecting the database for this grocery store, and you are also writing the same logic for connecting the database for this online books store. Now this will have some common things, right? Okay, common things. Like how common things? Okay, how the common code will be there? Like connecting database. Okay, database connection, right? Database connection. So these things are common. Okay, suppose you want to create one account for the user, then again that user creation account, right? You want to create account, then again that create user. Okay, that logic will be also pretty much same, right? Almost same. That how you are creating the user in the database. Simple. So basic CRUD operations like updating the user, updating the book, updating the grocery store, updating the products in the grocery store. So basic CRUD operations, matlab, like this CRUD operation means create, read, update and delete, right? So basic CRUD operation will also fall in the common things, okay, between these two projects. So database connection will be common, basic CRUD operation will be common. Okay, now you have to do, suppose you want to connect your application to the database, then you require one JDBC driver, yes or not, right? And that JDBC driver comes with the like in the package of jar. So adding jars, okay, so you have to add the same jar for the grocery store, and also you have to add that same jar for that MySQL database or whatever database that you are using in the books store as well. So adding the jars is also the common practice there, right? So these common things are there. So these things are happening in and etc. Maybe it will like have and etc. These are the common things. Okay, so just think now, if we are doing each and everything with the help of a Spring project, like a Spring framework, and we are creating these kinds of project, okay, we are working with it, and to do these common operations like database connection code, basic CRUD operation code, adding jars, adding classes and etc. So we have to do it multiple times. We have to do the same things for multiple times for other projects. Yes, simple to understand here. So now a Spring Boot comes in the picture. Pivotal team. A Spring is written by the pivotal team, right? So pivotal team thought this, that hey, why the developers are writing the same code, the same logics each and every time, which are common. And which codes are common? Which things are common? Database connection code, basic CRUD operation code, adding jars and etc. for all of the projects. So they thought, and they now come to the conclusion, and they developed a Spring Boot. Okay, a Spring Boot. Now if you are writing 100 lines of code, 80 lines of code, and some codes are common, then when you develop that project with the help of a Spring Boot, you do not need to do the common things. That common things will be done by a Spring Boot itself. So that's why a Spring Boot is a project. Pivotal team, the pivotal team, they are giving one project that is known as a Spring Boot, a starter project. Okay, they are giving you the project. So if they give the project, okay, then we have to extend that project and enjoy the common code features of there. Simple. What I'm saying here, just try to understand. So online grocery store, online books store, for this you have to write the code, and suppose you find these things are common. So as a programmer, we do not need to take the tension to write this. We do not need to take headache to write the same logics again and again and again. It will be taken care by the Spring Boot. That's why Spring Boot is a project. Many people think that a Spring Boot is another framework. No, bro, a Spring Boot is the project. It's not a framework. Okay, a Spring is a framework, and a Spring Boot, it's a simple project. Okay, so now what I will do here with the Spring Boot, see, simple, one Spring Boot project will be there. Okay, one Spring Boot project will be there. I will download from the internet because pivotal team has given that. Okay, see here. So what I will write here, a Spring Boot project. Now this will be the Spring Boot project. Okay, and here I will create my own project. Okay, here I will create my programmer written object. Okay, programmers project. Now this programmers project will extend the Spring Boot project. Okay, see, so now all the common things that are here, suppose all the common things will be under this Spring Boot project. Now you do not have to take a stress to write the common things. Okay, so here in the Spring Boot project, this Spring Boot project will contain all the common setup and common codes. Okay, all the common setup and common codes. Okay, and this is known as auto configuration. So Spring Boot is a auto configuration project. Okay, auto configured project, right? So this Spring Boot project will contain all the common setup and common codes that every programmer have to write for each and every project again and again and again, right? Now a Spring Boot reduces your efforts. Yes, it is simple to understand. So Spring Boot project is there and programmers project is there. Good. Now just simple to understand. Let me take one example in the notepad here. See, suppose I want to write one JDBC application. Okay, I want to write one application that uses JDBC things in the Spring. Then in that case, what I can write here, see, I will simply create one class. Let's say public class. I'm just giving an example. Okay, you just need to listen and see on the screen. Just suppose I am just writing the app configuration. Okay, app config. So this class is written. Okay, now this class is written. I will use this configuration. Okay, now if I want the JDBC things, then of course I need one public, let's say JDBC template. Okay, JDBC template object as a bean, right? JDBC template, JT, or let's say JDBC template like this, and this will act, it will return one bean, right? So if it will return one bean, it is just an example of a Spring code. Okay, so I will just write the bean here, and inside this method I will return the, let's say I am returning, okay, what I will return one JDBC object, JDBC template object here. Now when you see this is returning some JDBC templates, so here JDBC template JT equals new JDBC template, something like that, and then here jt.set data source. Okay, let's say just an example I'm just writing. Okay, here, so ds I have setting here. Okay, I am passing here. Now again this data source is also an object, so I will create one more object here for data source. Now data source means like database connectivity, all the things. Okay, so I will be just creating one public driver manager data source object. Driver manager data source, simple. Okay, ds, let's say. So now again what I will do here, I will just write driver manager data source ds equals new driver manager data source. Just an example I am giving. Okay, you do not need to understand these things, you just need to listen. Okay, what I'm saying, you just focus on here. Do not just try to understand each and every code. Okay, here ds dot set password, so some password will be set for the database. Again we have ds dot set username, right, set user. Okay, so some user will be there. Okay, so something like that. Then again ds dot, so something like that, we will have some method and return the ds object. Okay, return that ds, and here just annotate this with bean because this will be treated as bean. So suppose I am writing these lines of code in the Spring framework. Now if I want to do the same thing, if I want to apply my JDBC template, or if I want to use the JDBC things in my Spring Boot project, simple, we do not need to write these things each and every time. Okay, because this code will be common for each and every project. In every project, if you want to work with the JDBC data connection, then you have to write these lines of code, and every time this code logic will be same. So Pivotal team thought that okay, please do not let the programmers please do not just give this stress to the programmer that he is trying, or he or she is trying to write each and every line of code again and again, the same code again and again. So they created a Spring Boot, and a Spring Boot is a project. So inside this Spring Boot project, this code will be pre-written. Okay, this all code will be pre-written in the form of a starter files. Okay, so this Spring Boot project, this a Spring Boot contains one auto configured file, and that is known as a starter files. Okay, so you just have to add this line of code. Okay, a starter slash JDBC, like something like that. Let me show you how. So just write a Spring Boot a starter docs. Let me just search on the Google. Let's go to the Google and see what I'm trying to say. Let me just turn the mode into day mode. Why it's not turning there? Oh, fine, it is. Oh, again it left side is okay. See, let me search for a starter. Okay, a starter you will find easily. We have multiple starter files. Okay, see here, a Spring Boot, a starter, this much of things we have. So see, a Spring Boot dash a starter dash data JPA, a Spring Boot dash a starter dash data JDBC. Simply you just have to copy this and add this into your Spring Boot project. Now when you add this into your Spring Boot project, okay, simple, what will happen, it will inject all the required things. It will inject all the common code and all the common setup that is required for the JDBC data connection. Okay, so JDBC things, for all the common things, it will be done now. So adding this one line of code is easy, or writing this line of code is easy? No, this one adding is too much easy. So that's why a Spring Boot is known as, it's an auto configured project. Okay, this is known as auto configured project. Okay, so you will find some common things, and for that common things, for that common codes and common setups, okay, a Spring Boot is already there. Fine. So here let me just write. So a Spring Boot. What is a Spring Boot? Okay, let's just write here. So Spring Boot here. A Spring Boot is a project, okay, or let's say auto configuration project, because it's auto configures all the things. Okay, a Spring Boot is auto configuration project given by pivotal team. Okay, given by which team? Pivotal team. Okay, given by pivotal team. Okay, it reduces the programmer's work, okay, by auto configuring, by adding, let me just write, by adding common setup and common codes to the project, i.e. that is known as that is auto configuration, that is known as auto configuration. Okay, these all files, these common codes, these common setups and common codes will come, not will come, comes with a starter. Okay, comes with a starter. You can say a starter files, descriptor, dependency, whatever you can say, just a starter. Okay, a starter files. Let me just write in the starter files. You just need to add that starter file, or that a starter file. Yeah, let me just write the dependency. Okay, a starter dependency, I can say it. Okay, so simply you have to add that starter, whatever you required. You want to work with, let's say, data JPA, Spring Data JPA, simply add this a starter, a Spring Boot Data JPA. Similarly, you want to work with the MongoDB, simply just add this one. Okay, so LDAP, okay, here a Spring Boot data, so Redis you want to work with, so whatever you want to work with, just you need to simply add that a starter dependency, a Spring Boot a starter JDBC. See, here it is. So Spring Boot a starter JDBC, when you add, all things will be done there, right? I think now you are getting my point. So Spring Boot is an auto configuration project, it's nothing else. Okay, simply in the earlier stage, like when you are only working with the JDBC, you do not need that data JDBC, you simply can add this JDBC here. Okay, a Spring Boot a starter dash JDBC. Okay, so Spring Boot is a auto configuration project, and these common codes, okay, let me just write that these common things or common code or auto configuration can be classes, can be jar files, can be plugins. Okay, these common things can be dependencies in the form of jars. I have okay, classes, jars, plugins, and what more we can write here in the common codes, like and etc. You can just write and etc, right? So many things can come under the common things. Okay, and for that, if the Spring Boot is adding these common things in the Spring Boot project, this is known as auto configuration. Simple to understand here. So these are the common things. Okay, it is auto configured by a Spring Boot. Simple. So this is the meaning of a Spring Boot. Okay, so I hope you have understood the meaning of a Spring Boot now. So what is a Spring Boot? A Spring Boot is simply a project. Okay, and programmer will write the own project. Okay, so Spring Boot programmer will write own project. Programmer will write her own project. Okay, and you will download the Spring Boot project. Okay, whatever things you will require, you will add this and you will download that. Okay, you will download it from internet. Okay, you have to download this from the Spring source. Okay, so this is the thing. Now when you add these things again, when you suppose you have added this Spring Boot starter JDBC, you have to still you have to give database details, username details, JDBC driver details. So that details can also be given through the property file. Okay, that details are like not you just need to leave blank. Why? Because the Spring Boot project also needs to understand that, okay, what is the database username, what is the database password there, what is the JDBC driver you are using. So you have to give these things. So you will give these things with the properties file. And again, when you are working with the Spring Boot project, you can't create directly, you can't create each and everything raw. Okay, you need one Gradle or Maven tool. Okay, so while working with a Spring Boot project, let me just write one more line of code, here. While working with a Spring Boot project, you need the help of one project management tool like Gradle or Maven. Okay, you need this one for sure. Fine. So I hope you understood the meaning of a Spring Boot here. Let's see in the next video. Okay, so bye. I will attach this notes in the description and you can find from there. Thank you so much. I'll keep adding more videos. Okay, so please like, share and subscribe, and please show some support for